Okay. The Field Trip Part 4. Laura, Sharon, and Jenny saw the boys accelerate down the hall. "Come back, guys," called Jenny, running after the 4 boys. "Otherwise, you will get lost." Laura and Sharon followed Jenny. The children accelerated quickly down the halls. They turned right and left, past many rooms. They ran past the extinct reptile room with humongous snakes and lizards. They accelerated past the extinct amphibian room with huge frogs and toads. The farther they ran, the fewer people they saw. Suddenly, Eugene stopped. He looked all around for a few seconds. Then he realized something. "Where are we?" said Eugene. "I think we are lost." Okay. There are only 3 vocabulary words, right, left, and fewer in this story. We talked about them, but we also talked about these other words, which I think it's worth reviewing. Words like accelerate, haul, right, left, of course, reptile, amphibian, fewer, and fewer. These are the words that we talked about in this story. Okay, but before we do that, let's look at the difference between fewer and less. Okay, so fewer and less both mean that not as many, right? So for example, if you have 2 pencils and I have 3 pencils, then you have fewer pencils, right? Yes, fewer. So or if you if Mimi gave me 5 cookies and Ray gave me 4 cookies, then Ray gave me fewer cookies, right? Okay, because 4 is fewer than 5, right? Okay, so fewer. But then sometimes we have to say less and not fewer, okay? Sometimes we have to say less, all right? And when do we have to say less? Well, let's take a look. So generally, okay, when we talk about things like books, teachers, days, pencils, cookies, right, cars, houses, motorcycles, then we say fewer, okay? But if we are talking about things like coffee, water, or milk, and other liquid things, things that are watery, things you can pour, right? Then you have to say less. So here, you see, this is coffee, I believe, and well, and that's coffee. But then I believe, let me make it a little bit bigger. I think the person is pouring milk into the coffee. But nonetheless, coffee is watery, right? It is something that's like water. So you have to say less coffee not fewer coffee, less coffee. The same is true for water, right? Water is watery, right? It's liquidy, right? So it runs around, it flows like a liquid. So you cannot say fewer water. You have to say less water, okay? Less. Same is true for milk. Milk is a liquid. You can pour it, it flows. So you can't say fewer milk, you have to say less milk. Less milk, all right? And this is not water, it's not coffee, and it's not milk. It's wine, but nonetheless, it is a liquid. It is like water. So you cannot say fewer wine, you have to say less wine, okay? So let's look at our examples. Okay, here we go. Ray has 2 books. I want you to imagine Ray and he has 2 books. Mimi has 5 books. Okay, there's Mimi and she has 5 books. Well, Mimi has more books, right? But Ray has fewer books, right? Because 2 is fewer than 5. So Ray has fewer books, right? Mimi has 5. Ray has 2. So Ray has fewer books, right? Mimi has more books. Mimi has more books. Okay, Mimi has 5 books, so she has more books. But Ray has fewer books. Okay, fewer, more and fewer. Why? Because we are talking about books. We're not talking about water or coffee or milk. We're talking about books. So fewer books. Okay, Mimi has more books. Ray has fewer books. Let's contrast that with coffee. Let's look at this sentence. Ray drank 1 cup of coffee. Notice now we're talking about coffee. And remember, coffee is watery, right? Coffee is like water, right? It's liquid. It's a liquid. So it follows different rules. Now we know that we cannot say fewer. We have to say less, okay? So Ray drank 1 cup of coffee. Mimi drank 2 cups of coffee. Okay, again, we're talking about coffee. So Ray drank less coffee, not fewer coffee, less coffee, less. Why? Because we're talking about coffee, and coffee is a liquid. Okay, it is a liquid. So you can't say fewer, you have to say less. Okay. We still say Mimi drank more coffee. More doesn't change, okay? So Mimi drank more coffee. So more is the same. More stays the same. She has more books and she drank more coffee. But Ray has fewer books. Ray drank less coffee. So when you have more, then it doesn't matter if it's coffee or books, okay? But when it is when you have fewer or less, it matters. Fewer books, less coffee, okay? So fewer and less, okay? Let's look at another example. Imagine there is a school called the ABC School. So ABC School has 20 teachers, okay? Now we're talking about teachers. Teachers are not liquid. They are people that you can count. So it is not like coffee, milk, or water, right? So ABC School has 20 teachers. XYZ School has 25 teachers. So ABC school has fewer teachers, right? Let's bring this whole thing down. ABC school has fewer teachers, right? It has 20 teachers. XYZ school has 25. So when you compare the two, ABC school has fewer teachers, okay? We still say that XYZ school has more teachers, right? So same thing, we say that XYZ school has more teachers, right? We still say that. More doesn't change, right? More doesn't change. More stays the same, right? So XYZ school has more teachers. ABC school has fewer teachers. Let's contrast that with the next sentence, okay? I used 2 tubs of water, okay? A tub is like the tub that you have in a bathroom where you take a bath, okay? A tub. Okay, wait, maybe I could show you what a tub is right now. Let's see. Okay, not that, this guy right here. All right. Hey, IKEA. That is a tub, okay? That's a tub. This is a tub, okay? So I used 2 tubs of water, okay? I used 2 tubs of water. She used 3 tubs of water. So I used 2 tubs of water. She used 3 tubs. So I used less water, okay? I used less water. We still say that she, whoever she is, she used more water. We still say that, okay? But more doesn't change, like I said, but fewer and less changes depending on what you're talking about. So when it is water, coffee, milk, wine, or anything that is a liquid that you can pour that flows around, you have to say less, okay? Let's look at the third example, okay? There are 31 days in January. So the January is the first month. So there are 31 days in January, okay? There are 28 days in February, right? So February is the second month. So there are 28 days in February. Sometimes there are 29 days, but 28 or 29, right? Okay. So there are 31 days in January. There are 28 days in February. So there are fewer days in February, okay? There are fewer days in February. Well, what does that mean? There are more days in January. So there are more days in January, right? So again, more doesn't change because we're talking about days, right? Because we're talking about days, so we say fewer days, okay? And more doesn't change, doesn't matter if it's days or coffee or water, so it doesn't change, okay? So we say fewer because we're talking about days. There are fewer days in February, okay? Let's contrast that with the next sentence. A cow makes 2 buckets of milk. Maybe I should show you what a bucket is. Well, that's a tub, right? This is a tub. What is a bucket? Okay, let's see what a bucket looks like. Let's go to see bucket. Okay, come on. There it is, right there. That is a bucket. Look at all these buckets. There's a blue one and another blue one. There's a red one. These colorful buckets right here, right? Buckets. Okay, bucket. Bucket. So a cow makes 2 buckets of milk. I don't know if that's true, but maybe 2 buckets is a little bit too much for a day, but I don't know. Okay, so let's just pretend, imagine that a cow makes 2 buckets of milk. Okay? See, now we're talking about milk, right? That should tell you, you should realize the minute you know that we're talking about milk, that milk is something like water, so now I cannot say fewer, I have to say less, right? So a cow makes 2 buckets of milk. A goat makes 1 bucket of milk. So a goat makes less. A goat makes less milk, right? Less milk. Because we're talking about milk, now I have to say less, okay? Less milk. A cow makes more milk, more doesn't change, right? A cow makes more milk. A cow makes more milk. That's not what I said. A cow makes more milk. All right, so here are 3 examples of the difference between fewer and less, right? Fewer books, less coffee. Fewer teachers, less water. Fewer days, less milk. I hope that was clear. And next time somebody asks you, what is the difference between fewer and less, you will be able to tell them. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Goodbye, and like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.